All right, what's up, everyone? It's Brev back finally with a new tier list for you guys. Today is July 15th. If you guys are new to my stuff, you can follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/cbrev. You can follow me on Twitter at cbrevmlb. If you're seeing this somewhere other than YouTube, my YouTube is cbrev. As far as where we're at in the content cycle, the All-Star Game stuff did just come out, as well as the Home Run Derby stuff. Team Affinity Stage 3 is out as well. We're getting new BR rewards on the 20th, I think, is the next content that we're going to get, besides a couple player programs or so. So that's where we're at. If you're watching this a little while from now, that is what's just come out. Couple disclaimers, as always, out in front. These are just my opinions. This video is more of a guideline to kind of guide you in the right direction of what I think is good and bad for each position. It's not gospel. If you're doing well with a card, don't take them out unless you're bored and you just want to try something new, which is always a good option anyway, because the whole point of playing the game is to have fun. And there's been a lot of content since I made the last tier list, so things have been shaking up quite a bit. Appreciate you guys sticking with me during the downtime of it. And with that being said, let's jump right into the first position, which is catcher. Couple more things to talk about as we dive into catcher here. Our usual disclaimer regarding the colors: a blue color means it's a secondary position, a green color means it's a new card that was not on the tier list the last time I made one, so there's going to be a lot of green in this video, and then white is just a primary position that was already there before. So catcher, I think the best catcher in the game right now is 98 Kyle Schwarber. I know that's maybe a hot take with all of the new catchers we just got in Team Affinity, but I do think he brings the most to the table. I generally prefer more offensive catchers than defensive catchers, so that's definitely a reason why he's number one for me. If you prefer like a pure defensive catcher, 98 JT Realmuto at number 4 there is definitely going to be your guy. And if you prefer someone that's a little more balanced, maybe look at 97 Perez or 96 Zunino. But all 6 of those guys in Tier 1A I think are top tier. Very, very good cards. I just prefer Schwarber because he, like, if his name was Joe Mauer and it was on the same card, I think people would be freaking out just as much. Just a really unique card, incredibly valuable. Left-handed power hitting catcher is very, very rare. I think it adds a lot of dynamism to your lineup. So that's why he's my guy. But the guys behind him definitely not too far behind. In Tier 1B at the top, we have the Team Affinity JT Realmuto, who is basically the same card as the 98 one, but hits lefties worse. And then we got Joe Torre, who is the previous reigning champ for catcher. That's how long it's been since we made a video. Then Weeder, Sanchez, Fox, Rutschman, Posada, Huff, Stevenson, d'Arnaud. Tier 1C is Perez, Bench, Haas, I think is how you say that guy's name. Campusano, Piazza, and Pudge Rodriguez. If you need some more options, here they are. And if you see yellow, that just means it's a gold card, but you won't really see that aside from catcher and relief pitching in this video. So that's it for catcher. Schwarber's my guy, but lots of good options. Team Affinity was very kind to the catcher position. Moving on to first base, which is maybe one of the most ambiguous positions. Definitely a lot of controversy around who people think the best first baseman in the game is right now. For me, that card is 99 Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I've always been a fan of righties with reverse splits. When we get into the pitching later, the pitching is kind of coming back to the norm of either balance or maybe better right-handed pitching than left-handed pitching. So righties with reverse splits are obviously good again. I just think he's the most valuable first baseman all around. I have Eddie Murray in second place, and then I have Nick Castellanos ahead of David Ortiz. That's how good I think Castellanos is. If you notice a recurring theme from the top 3 guys at first base, and in general just the top guys at most of the positions we'll go over, it's that they're pretty balanced or slightly favor righties. And also switch hitting is incredibly valuable right now as well. It's kind of a crapshoot who you're going to face starting pitching wise. There's a lot of different people that your opponents online could be rocking with, so it's kind of a guessing game. So having a balanced attack is definitely good right now. We have Ortiz in fourth, then Fielder, Alonso, Olsen, Mancini, the 95 Perez, which is a really sleeper pick for first base. Card is actually insanely attributed for a first baseman. And then 97 Eduardo Escobar, who you're going to see in Tier 1A for a lot of positions. One of the best utility cards in the game. Amazing swing, great power versus both sides, switch hitter, just really everything you could want in a card. Tier 1B, we have Jackie Robinson. Mainly the reason he's not Tier 1A at first base is because I think you're kind of wasting him if you play him at first with how many good options there are. Then we have 97 Perez, 95 Olsen, Gallo, Tomey, Mountcastle, Sano, and Jock. Maybe some people you weren't expecting to see there. And then 95 Adam Dunn. And as we talk about Mountcastle, Sano, Peterson, Adam Dunn, I should mention that when I'm evaluating first baseman and third baseman, I really don't value defense at all. I want power and I want pure offense at those positions. In my experience playing the game throughout the years, there's really not a huge difference between a guy that has common defense at first base and a guy that has diamond defense at first base. So that's why at those two positions, first and third, we're definitely focusing on offense more than anything else. You can look at the guys at Tier 1C there. Sandoval, who's not out yet. And I do want to say now that we're at first base, and which is kind of a deep position, I did actually cut down to 50 cards for each position. So that is the maximum you're going to see. There's just way too many cards in the game right now. When I sat down and did starting pitchers, there's over 100 diamond starting pitchers in the game. It's just going to get way too complicated. So I limited each position to a max of 50 cards, except for I did 55 in outfield, I think, just because it's so deep. But regardless, the point of that was to kind of make things easier to understand. And if you don't see a guy on the list, it's because I don't think he is top 50 at that position in the game right now. So that was my attempt to kind of cut down on everything, since there's just a stupid amount of cards in the game right now, which is obviously a good thing. Moving on to Tier 2, 3, and 4, we have Scope, Rizzo, Fox, Abreu, Gehrig, Martinez, the other Vlad from Player of the Month, and the other Prince Fielder. And then Tier 3 and 4, you can take a look there, and that's where I'm at with first baseman. Moving on to second baseman, and when we talk about second baseman, third baseman, and shortstop, you're going to see a lot of the same names in Tier 1A for all three of those positions. A lot of the team affinity cards have second base, shortstop, and third base capability, a lot of the infielders, so you're just going to see the same names a lot for those three positions. But I ranked him the best I could. I still think the best second baseman in the game is 99 Jackie Robinson, especially with how cheap he is now. He's sitting around $110K total cost, assuming you've done Stage 1 of Team Affinity all the way, of course. Definitely a card you should be looking to pick up if you haven't already. Insanely good value. I think he's the best second baseman in the game, and especially if you get him to parallel 4, where then he reaches 99 speed and 90 fielding, which gives him diamond defense at second base. Just an absolute stud there. Really happy they gave us a Jackie Robinson early in the year this year, because I've always thought his cards are pretty good, but they usually released his 99 way after a bunch of other options were already out there, so very happy about that. In second place, we have 98 Trey Turner, who is just an absolute stud. This guy is going to be a top-tier option at basically every position he can play. I know he doesn't have the highest defense ratings, but what this guy brings at the plate is just craziness. Basically maxed out contact versus both sides, almost 100 power versus right, still good power versus left, and 99 speed. He's basically Buxton, but with way better contact, so and a lot better positional versatility, obviously. So love me some Trey Turner. Then we got Wander Franco ahead of Alfonso Soriano, dipping all the way down to 4th there. Just a lot of good options coming out in the game right now for the positions that Soriano plays. You'll see Soriano drop a bit in the outfield as well. I still prefer him. I know a lot of people don't like his swing. I think it's fair to rate him around 4th for second base. Then we have 97 Story, 96 Bogarts, who is another card I am a super big fan of. First time we've really ever gotten a Xander Bogaerts card that has decent fielding. He's got gold fielding at shortstop with good speed, and Xander Bogaerts cards always hit extremely well, so definitely a top tier option as well. Really excited about that Xander card, and super cheap right now. Then we have Albies, Simeon, Escobar again, and 88 Nico Goodrum, who you'll see a lot as well. Definitely not going to back down from the fact that I still think that guy is a top tier option at a lot of positions in the game right now. Again, the switch hitting, the amazing swing, the positional versatility, the speed, the diamond defense, just incredible. Then at 1B, we got Ramirez, Tatis Jr., Correa, Roberts. You can read that all the way down. And then definitely from Tier 1B to Tier 1C, there's a pretty significant drop-off. So if you could, as far as second base, I would definitely try to stick to Tier 1A or Tier 1B if you're looking to upgrade your team in some capacity. Here's some more second basemen for you. This page is honestly unless you're really doing well with a guy that you've already been using and he's on here, I wouldn't really look at this slide too much. All right, moving on to third base, which again, we value offense over defense at this position. Kind of similar rankings to first base, except obviously we got 99 Chipper Jones at third base, still easily the best third baseman in the game, in my opinion. Again, the switch hitting, the maxed out versus lefties, just an incredible card. Unfortunately, with the new releases, David Ortiz, Alfonso Soriano kind of drop in value. They're not necessarily the best in the game at their positions anymore, but Live Series collection still debatably worth going for just because Chipper Jones is so good. If you don't have Chipper and you aren't playing Vlad Jr. at first, then I would play him at third. He's number 2 for me. Castellanos in third, and then Jackie in fourth, and then you see Trey Turner in fifth there. Wander Franco, Trevor Story, Bogarts, Escobar, Simeon. Again, you're going to be seeing these guys at shortstop as well. Just really solid options all around the infield. Top of Tier 1B, we have Troy Glaus at third base. If he had a little bit more contact versus right, he'd probably be Tier 1A, especially the fact that you can get him to diamond defense at parallel 3 is really cool, I think. Maxed out versus lefties. But again, a lot of the starting pitching is starting to work its way back towards right-handedness, so Glaus loses a little bit of value now. And of course, I'm talking about the top-tier meta pitchers. But there you go. You can read the rest of Tier 1B and Tier 1C there if you'd like. I would definitely try to get a guy in Tier 1A here for third base, I would say. Just a lot of incredible options that, in my opinion, are pretty significantly better than the guys in Tier 1B. But if you love a guy in Tier 1B, I personally did amazing with Jordan Groshans. I'll probably still be giving him some reps on one of my accounts, but just so many good options in the game. Here's some more third basemen for you, and we will move on to shortstop now. So shortstop, I still think the best shortstop's Chipper. Obviously, you lose a bit defensively compared to third base when you're playing Chipper at shortstop. My best shortstop besides Chipper is Wander Franco. I think Wander Franco as a card is kind of slept on right now just because he came out as a fourth inning boss, and then right after the fourth inning came out, we've just been getting content after content after content. 96s, 97s, 98s, 99s constantly. I think Franco has kind of gone by the wayside. He's not at the front of people's minds anymore. But seriously, one of the best cards in the game. Switch hitting, better power versus right, can play 3 positions. Diamond defense at shortstop at parallel 3 with good speed. Incredible card. Definitely my top shortstop option, especially if you're already running Chipper at third. Third place there, we have Trey Turner as well. Again, the 99 speed will help his bad defense, I think, as far as his range in the infield. You'll see that in the outfield as well. And what that guy brings at the plate is amazing. So definitely worthy of that spot. Again, then 97 Story Bogarts. Don't forget about 96 Story, the BR reward. That's a little bit more defensive-oriented shortstop than the 97 Trevor Story is. And then we have Simeon Escobar. Tatis with his only position at Tier 1A, just because, again, if you could have parallel 5 Tatis, you get diamond defense. The speed is good and a little bit underrated, but 99 arm at shortstop, very good. And then we still have Nico Goodrum in Tier 1A there. Tier 1B, we have Albies in a secondary position, then Correa, Groshans, and Mauricio. Troy Glaus in a secondary position. And then we got Chris Taylor, Jonathan Scope, Jose Ramirez, Brad Miller, the new Brad Miller today, Cronenworth, and then Frazier, Banks, Turner, Poisson, Edman. Again, if you're on to page 2 here for shortstop, you probably could do better, in my opinion. You could do a lot better, but shortstop kind of thin in terms of depth, and so that's why we have 87s in our top 50. All right, moving on to outfield, which surprisingly, despite how many cards are in the game, outfield has kind of felt shallow, especially considering all the other options we have at other positions. Other positions just feel incredibly deep. But I do rate the number 1 outfielder in the game right now as the new 99 Ronald Acuna Jr. that just came out. I think he's number 1 for a ton of reasons. On paper, he's Alfonso Soriano. They're almost exactly the same card, except Acuna has a bit worse fielding and a much better swing, and Ronald Acuna Jr. has active quirks on his card, his live series quirks, so that's obviously going to help him play up a lot. Also, they were kind enough to make sure he was a right field primary, which helps a lot because then you don't have to play him in center field or if you wanted to play him, like if he was a primary center fielder, 82 speed, or his fielding's 82, and you wanted to play him in right field so he wasn't playing center, then he would drop down to silver. Now that he's a primary right fielder, he gets to be a gold defender in right field with amazing speed. Obviously, the 94 speed means if you get Acuna to parallel 5, that goes up to 99. Incredible card. One of the top options I think they could have released in the All-Star Game program. Was kind of hoping for a Hank Aaron, but definitely not disappointed in that Acuna at all. And the number 1 outfielder in the game for me right now. Number 2, we have Trout, who's actually moved up. And a theme you'll notice throughout the outfield, in previous tier lists and in general, I actually do prefer defense over offense in the outfield. If I have the choice between someone like Buxton and someone like Castellanos in the outfield, I usually take someone like Buxton because I prefer the defense and the speed. However, there is a lot of outfielders right now that have average to bad defense that are just so good at hitting that they still are worthy of being high up on the list. If you look at Tier 1B, we have Schwarber there. Mullins has good speed, but pretty bad fielding. Same with Adolis Garcia. But these cards still deserve to be rated high just because they hit so well. So as far as defensive options in the outfield go, they are much farther behind offensively than the offensive options are behind defensively, if that makes sense. So it'll look a little bit different than how my typical tier lists look in terms of outfield. Some guys that just rake have been given priority just because they hit so well. Anyway, that's why Trout has moved up. I think offense in the outfield is definitely better right now. And Trout consistently year in and year out, one of the best hitters in the game. Again, the fact that starting pitching is kind of moving a little bit more towards right-handedness again helps Trout a ton with the insane reverse splits he has. And then actually my number 3 outfielder in the game right now is Trey Turner. And you can only play him in center field. That's the only outfield position you can play him in, just in case you didn't know. But I definitely think it's worth it, especially if you can get him paralleled up to where he'll have silver defense there. I think you only need parallel 2. The 99 speed should make up for any decent to bad reaction he has. And again, just an excuse to get an insane bat in your lineup. Yeah, just an incredible outfielder. I think he's one of the best cards in the game right now. And I know people talk about him a lot, but I really still think he's underrated. Just an insane card. 4th outfielder, we have Jackie. Keep in mind with Jackie and Chipper Jones, they can only play left field, so you can't actually play both of them at the same time in the outfield if you were looking to do that. Soriano in 5th, and then we have our first kind of defensive option, besides Soriano, I guess, Byron Buxton, then Dominguez. I do have Buxton ahead of Dominguez for the defense. For some reason, Dominguez has played weirdly bad defense for me, despite the speed and the fielding that he has. So, still hits really well. Obviously, the switch hitting gives him an edge over Buxton, but for the card archetype that they are, I think I'd rather have Buxton at this point. And then rounding out Tier 1A, we have Judge and Castellanos. Castellanos, obviously, actually doesn't have as bad a defense as you would think, but definitely fits the bill of a guy that just hits so well that you can kind of make up for the bad defense at this point in the year. Top of Tier 1B, we have the 99 Larry Walker. Honestly, the fact that his splits versus lefties don't bother me as much as the fact that he's slow and that his reaction is low, and the fact that he played terrible defense for me last year when he had better ratings. So if you're running Larry Walker in right field and you're looking at that 90 fielding, don't get too excited because this guy played atrocious defense for me last year, and a lot of other people as well. Obviously, being maxed out versus righties is super valuable, but he's not Tier 1A because he doesn't hit lefties as well, and I think his defense is actually worse than it looks. Then we have Schwarber, Mullins, Garcia, the new Ken Griffey Jr., Finley. Even as an outfielder, Escobar still Tier 1B, insane card. Then we have Justice, Teoscar Hernandez, and Brian Reynolds. Top of Tier 1C, we have the Live Series Ronald Acuna Jr., who would be higher if he wasn't hurt in real life. He's not going to get inside edge anymore since he's not playing, so that's why he's so low. And then we start to get a little bit more into the territory of guys that have some glaring weaknesses as we get towards the bottom of Tier 1C. Here is Tier 2. Yeah, I ended up putting 55 here in outfield just because I couldn't cut 5 people, I guess. But there are some more options for you. Guys like Olsen in the outfield, I probably wouldn't recommend, but again, still under the territory of if they rake for you and you want just like a pure offensive team, it's something you could definitely think about. All right, moving on to starting pitcher. Obviously, I'm going to put Shohei number 1. That's debatably the best real person they've ever put in the game in the history of Diamond Dynasty. So definitely should be your goal at some point this year to knock out that Shohei Ohtani collection, because that card is mind-blowing. And if they can figure out a way to make it so you can play him in the outfield when he's not pitching, that card is going to be basically required to be competitive, in my opinion, especially with the 91 speed that he has. Just a dumb card in the best way. And then in second, we have the new 99 DeGrom. I did actually just post a video pitching with the live series DeGrom if you want to get a glimpse into how I kind of use cards that don't have sinker cutter. That video is in the description below if you want to check that out. I may do another one with the new DeGrom as well, but it honestly wouldn't be that much different strategy-wise. Third, we have Edward Cabrera, who some people would probably rate above 99 DeGrom. Still going to see him a lot, guys. Even with the release, all the content we've had recently, starting pitcher was definitely the one area that didn't get a ton of upgrades. So you're still going to be seeing a lot of Edward Cabrera when you're trying to play ranked. I know it's tough at times, but he's not going away anytime soon. And then after Edward, we get back to the lefties. We've got Leiter, Glavine, Valenzuela, Lee. Paxton could maybe be lower. I honestly don't think he's that good, but he just has really good attributes and a good pitch mix, so I think he's just going to be consistently good for you unless you just run into someone that's locked in. Then we have 96 DeGrom in Tier 1A also, and then rounding out Tier 1A, we have the new 97 Lance Lynn, who I think is a little bit of a sleeper pick. I haven't seen anybody post it or talk about it, but his four-seam sinker and cutter all have above 92 control, I believe, and he's got really good hits per 9. His speed differential is not the greatest, but I really think that card's going to dot and be difficult to hit against, so that's why he's in Tier 1A for me. Top of Tier 1B, we have Kluber and then Crochet, and then we got 399s who I didn't know where to put these guys. I think they all suck. I'm going to be honest with you. I think Peralta's terrible. I think Vita Blue, I couldn't locate anything that wasn't a fastball with Vita Blue. It always seemed like the ball ended up in like the worst area of the par that it possibly could have. And then Christie just doesn't have the pitches in my experience. A lot of good players have been just lighting up Vita Blue and Christy Mathewson online, and then Peralta is obviously new, but the fact that he got a sinker doesn't change much for me for that card, because his sinker is his fifth pitch with like no break and no control, and his walks per 9 are a little low. So that's just my opinion. Don't know how to feel about those 399s, so I put them in Tier 1B, but honestly they could be lower. I don't know where to put them. Then we have Priester, Maddox, Burns, Fergie Jenkins, and Kevin Gausman rounding out Tier 1B. And then at the top of Tier 1C, we have a live series Shohei Ohtani. And then some Team Affinity cards, Rodon, Kikuchi, 87 Michael Kopech, still hanging around. The card I don't see anybody using. Still like Jacob deGrom Light, still very good in my opinion. And then Glasnow, Wheeler, Marquez, Rogers, Oral Hershiser, and Charlie Morton. Tier 2, we got Oswalt, Martinez, Burnett, Jackson Rutledge, definitely a slept-on card as well. 6'8", similar repertoire to Jacob deGrom. Obviously doesn't have Outlier, but still throws hard. The balls look like they're coming from outer space when you pitch with that card, so I think he's a sneaky underrated pick. And then you can see the rest of the starting pitcher rankings there. Again, there are so many starting pitchers in the game right now. I'm sure I left out a card that you're doing well with, and if you're doing well with the card, stick with them, because that's what it's all about, dominating. All right, moving on to right-handed relievers. We have a non-99 as the best right-handed reliever in the game. It's 96 Alex Reyes. The combination of his pitch repertoire, the outlier sinker, the fact that he's got 45 stamina, I believe, which allows him to pitch 2, 3, 4 innings if you want him to. He's basically reliever Edward Cabrera with a ton of stamina. You're going to be seeing that guy a lot. Then we got the new 99 Goose Gossage, the new World Series reward. He does have outlier and a really good pitch mix as well. Always have thought 99 Goose cards were some of the best relievers in the game. That Goose card is definitely an in-game right-handed reliever. Then in third, we have the collection Mariano Rivera. Still hanging out in Tier 1, we got Rob Dibble, Lee Smith, and then we have the new 97 Dennis Eckersley up there. Tier 2, we got 95 Goose, and then we have 83 Shane Green. Again, one of the most underrated cards in the game, in my opinion. Just because he's a gold doesn't matter, in my opinion. He's been one of my most consistent relievers across multiple accounts for the entire year. That's just a card you can throw in that's free and is going to get it done for you for sure. Then we have Liam, the new Rob Nin, which came out today, and then Ryan Presley. And then top of tier 3, we have Raleigh Fingers. Look out for Raleigh Fingers' higher overall card this year if you guys are new to MLB The Show. That guy consistently year in and year out is one of the best relievers in the game. Surprised it took them so long to give us a Raleigh card this year. I was a little worried they lost his rights. But Raleigh typically gets like a 96 overall later on, and his stuff is nasty, so look out for that. Even the 89 is really good in my opinion. And then here's rounding out the rest of the right-handed closers. You see 97 Kimbrel all the way down in tier 2. Even though he's got maxed out per 9s, you just can't really do much with 2 fastballs and a curveball on this game, unfortunately. And then moving on to lefties, definitely the most shallow position in the game. We have the new Team Affinity Hater, who is a must-have for everyone, obviously. Daily Moments Zach Britton, I still think is very good. And then 95 Gregory Soto, who's very similar a card to Zach Britton. And then we have 91 Billy Wagner and Aroldis Chapman. Despite going down to gold, I don't think it affects his card very much. Still a tier 1 lefty for me. Tier 2, we have Diekman, Franco, Plesac, and Live Series Hater. And then tier 3, we have Silver Chapman, Blake Snell, Sean Doolittle, Silver Chris Sale, and Silver Anthony Rizzo, who I would never use Anthony Rizzo, but I leave him on these tier lists because if I don't put him there, somebody's going to ask where he is. So that's why he's at the bottom of the list. All right, so now let's get into the 3 team builds as we wrap out this video. As we always do, I added a third one this time. I would love to hear what you guys think about it. I've modified the other 2 just a little bit. So this is the best team possible if you haven't done any live series collections and if you don't have any live series cards whatsoever. I've also ordered the lineup in the way that I would order it. I've also done the bench in the way I would do the bench and using cards that have the ability to pinch hit for guys in our lineup, not just for the pitcher, to give us a little more versatility as well. I'm not sure why Shohei has the money on this slide. Sorry. I understand now. Okay, we'll get to that. So green is a new card, and yellow is the guy that he's replacing from the last tier list. So leading off, we got 99 Jackie Robinson at second base. Then second, we have 99 Ronald Acuna Jr. in right field. Third, we have Schwarber. This lineup only features 1 lefty and 1 switch hitter. Thankfully, the switch hitter hits righties better, so he's kind of a lefty. So that allows us to play our lefties at 3 and 6 in the order and get a decent amount of balance. You'll also notice at 2 and 4 and at 5 and 7, we are trying to feature cards that hit lefties better just to give a little bit more protection for Schwarber and Franco. So we got Acuna second in right field, then Schwarber at catcher hitting third, then Castellanos at third base hitting fourth, then 99 Vlad at first, and then 99 Franco at shortstop, and then Trey Turner in center field hitting seventh, and then Byron Buxton in left field hitting 8th. On the bench, we're rocking the home run derby, Trevor Story. Really good bench bat, plays multiple positions as well, lots of power. And then definitely something I want to touch on is 97 Salvador Perez on the bench. I think if you're doing what I'm doing and you're using Schwarber as your catcher right now, it is basically required that you're running a right-handed catcher on your bench that crushes lefties. If you look at our lineup as a whole, our starting lineup, there's almost no weaknesses. The most glaring weakness I can find in this entire lineup is having to hit lefty-lefty with Schwarber. So that's why we're running Team Affinity Salvador Perez on the bench. He's maxed out versus lefties. We're not platooning because we don't want to make our lineup worse versus righties for the longevity of the game. But if it comes down to it in a late game situation where they bring in a lefty or we're having to hit lefty-lefty with Schwarber in a big spot, runners in scoring position, that's when we would go ahead and go to Salvador Perez. So basically necessary to do that, in my opinion, right now if you want to play the game the best way and if you're running Schwarber as your catcher. Then on the bench, our lefties are Tommy and Cedric Mullins. Mullins is such a good hitter, man. If his defense was just a little bit better, he may have been higher up on the tiers for outfield. Unfortunately, not only is his defense a little bit low, but he's not like crazy fast. He's got good speed, but not insane speed like Trey Turner. And also his arm strength is 50, which is like borderline unusable. So at the plate, Cedric Mullins is amazing. That's why he's on the bench for us. Tommy just crushes righties. If they get locked into a right-hander reliever, you go to Tommy immediately with your pitcher spot. And then again, Something this isn't probably as required, but it would be my best suggestion that you're running Eduardo Escobar as your switch hitter on the bench. There's not a better switch hitting bench player in the game right now. Plays almost every position, balanced stats, switch hitter, must have bench bat in my opinion as it stands. All right, so now I remember why I have the $sign. So this is best team possible, no live series collections, but this has Shohei and Mariano Rivera, who are still collections and pretty expensive. So even though I put Shohei and Rivera, I actually did 6 starters instead of 5. So if you're not running Shohei or if you can't afford Shohei, then Cliff Lee would be your 5th guy. Same with the relievers. I'm actually running a 5-3 with my relievers right now. 5 righties, 3 lefties. But for the relievers on this slide, there's 6 of them in case you can't get Mariano Rivera. The point of this slide is kind of to present you with a semi-budget team that you could roll with online. So for getting Shohei, our rotation is 99 DeGrom, 94 Cabrera, 97 Leiter, 93 Valenzuela, and 97 Lee. In the bullpen, again, we're running 5 righties, 3 lefties. My reasoning for this right now is that the right-handed pitchers are just better than the left-handed pitchers. I would rather run somebody like 95 Lee Smith or 97 Dennis Eckersley and pitch them versus a lefty than try to go to a lefty like 87 Chapman if I had to. I just think the righty relievers are better in general, so I'm running more of them. But this bullpen without Mariano would look like 96 Alex Reyes, 99 Goose. I didn't put $signs next to Goose because he is a World Series reward. His price is going to come down a lot in the next couple of weeks. You could definitely be looking at copping Goose for like $80K or lower in a couple of weeks. So stick it out for him. And then Dibble, Lee Smith, and Eckersley. And then for the lefties, we have Josh Hader, Zach Britton, and Gregory Soto for our 3 lefties. Here's the exact same slide, but without the yellow. Didn't really get much feedback on this last time, but I kept it in. This is kind of like a more screenshotable lineup, not as cluttered with the guys that we were replacing. This is just straight up like what the team is looking like and who's new and who's not. All right, so now here's the best team possible with collections, or in general, if you had just had access to every card in the game, this would be the best team you could roll with, in my opinion. So Schwarber, still 3rd. Franco still 6th. Still only running 1 lefty, 1 switch. And the lineup is really not that much different. We're still having Jackie 1st and Acuna 2nd, Schwarber 3rd. And then obviously we were rocking Chipper cleanup. Chipper's like the best card you could ever have to protect a Kyle Schwarber in the lineup. Being a switch hitter maxed out versus lefties. Really solid lineup construction there. And then 99 Vlad hitting 5th. And then Wander Franco, Trey Turner, and Mike Trout, who's actually playing left field instead of center field, which is what that means next to his name. The reason for this is that Trey Turner can only play center field of all the outfield positions. We're also replacing Soriano with Trey Turner, as you notice on screen, which should tell you just how good I think Trey Turner is in general. On the bench, we're rocking with Castellanos. We have that luxury since we have better cards in our starting lineup. We're not starting Castellanos, so that is a top-tier bench bat. If you're in the position to run Castellanos on the bench, you're having a good time. Guy can play 1st, 3rd, and the outfield. Bringing him off the bench is amazing. Again, Salvador Perez on the bench because we're starting Schwarber. We definitely need a righty who crushes lefties and can play catcher on the bench. Again, borderline necessary in my opinion. Then we're rocking David Ortiz on the bench. Just your classic lefty that crushes righties. Cedric Mullins again, and then Escobar again. For the rotation, same thing basically, but we have Ohtani now. So it's Ohtani, DeGrom, Cabrera, Leiter, and Glavine. And then in the bullpen, we have Reyes, Gossage, Mariano, Dibble, and Lee Smith. For our righties, and for our lefties, it's the same thing, Hader, Britton, and Soto. And finally, to wrap out the video, sorry this has been a little bit longer than these normally go, but I had a lot to say, and it's been a while since we've done one. I forgot to change the title. Oh, sorry, this is the same slide, but without the yellow. Again, if you want to screenshot it. I was going to say, I swear I changed this title. All right, here's the 3rd slide. Some of you have been asking me for this, like a no money spent team. I didn't really know how to do that. So this is the best team possible without ever spending a single stub. Like every single card on here is free. Most of these cards are from Team Affinity, so long story short, do your Team Affinity if you don't want to spend stubs. There are a lot of really good options that are super cheap, like Xander Bogaerts I mentioned earlier, selling for like 7K stubs right now. you could come up with 7K Stubs if you wanted to use Xander Bogaerts. But if you were just absolutely looking for a team that was only consisting of people that are free, this is your team. So we have 99 Acuna, who surprisingly you can get for completely free. You just have to get all 30 cards from Team Affinity Stage 3. Then we have Castellanos at first. Mullins is starting in center field. Perez is starting at catcher. Then Aaron Judge in left. Escobar starting at third. Trey Turner at shortstop. Ozzy Albies at second base. On the bench, we have Adolis Garcia, Teoscar Hernandez, Matt Olson, Pablo Sandoval from Daily Moments, where he's basically a lefty, and then Nico Goodrum for our switch hitter. Rotation would be DeGrom, Cabrera, Lee, Crochet, and we had to go all the way down to Quinn Priester to fill this one out. And then the bullpen is where things really get bad. We have Reyes, 83 Shane Green, 84 Rob Dibble, 89 Sergio Romo, and 97 Craig Kimbrell, who, if you remember, was a Tier 2 rated reliever. So that's getting pretty dire. You can maybe look at this team, and then if you have Stubs, use them on relievers. That would probably be my best bet. You can make this lineup and be just fine. Maybe use your Stubs on pitching. But surprisingly, the lefties in the bullpen, we're still able to get all of them. Hader, Britton, and Soto. So that's going to wrap it up for the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I would greatly appreciate you guys liking the video and subscribing to the channel. I can't even describe how much time this took. I spent probably 10 hours on this tier list at least, making sure everything was good to go. So that would help me out a lot, and I would greatly appreciate it. We do post a ton of other content on the channel if you're interested. Links to some of those videos will be in the description below, and I'd love to hear your comments on what you agree and disagree with me with on this tier list. I usually say it in the beginning, but you're more than welcome to disagree with me on basically everything. Again, this is just my opinion, more to give you guys a guideline. Thank you guys so much for the support this year. Thanks for sticking with me as we didn't make this for a long time. Take care, and I'll see you all next time.